that have signed up. So if somebody contacts you and says they can't get in, send them over to YouTube and they can catch the broadcast here. If we can go on to the next slide. All right, today's goals. We're going to do a quick overview of, let you meet our GSLI team, quick overview of the project. We're going to meet the project, and then we're going to get into a actual presentation that the project's put together today on their project, and we'll go into the Q&A section. You might be asking, should you be here? And there's basically four participants that typically attend our events. One is our clients. We love our communities. We get to know them very closely. They serve as our eyes and ears on the ground at each of their communities around the country. They interface directly with our projects and perform submissions that help them find the right locations. We've got a ton of trial communities in here, ones that haven't submitted or just became familiar with us and are really learning about the process of how our events work, how our prospects work. And we're excited to have you all here today. We've got quite a few observing companies and site locators here today. We enjoy having the companies come in and learn about our process and to live and breathe and feel what we're doing on these events. And then we just have some of observing communities. And those are communities that really want to just learn about what makes projects tick and what they're looking for so they can help improve on what they're doing in their site location process for their cities and help increase jobs. I'm going to throw up a poll today because we have so many attendees. If you can um, go ahead and answer that while we're going over the next couple of slides. It'll give us an idea of how many of these prospect lives, if you're a new guest, if you've attended several of our events, or or what stage you are in our process. Couple quick housekeeping items. You should already be muted. If for some reason you accidentally unmute yourself, go ahead and mute it. We don't really want to hear you eating your bag of chips. And with 100 people, we've heard quite a few things come over the live broadcast. If you do have a question, please be sure to raise your hand. If you want, I'll be able to open up the mic and bring you on live to ask a question or clarify an answer if you need. We're going to get into the Q&A section later. If you have questions, go ahead and use the Q&A box. It's down on the bottom of your thing, of your screen. Please make sure you put your name, your community, and your question so that we know where you're asking your question from. And we are, as a reminder, going to be transcribing and recording this event and posting it on the website for future reference. And that usually takes about 48 hours. Who's with us today? Of course, it's me. I am the CEO of Global Site Location Industries. I have been really excited about our Prospect Live events. We've been doing this for over 25 years, coming up on 26 and a half years. So we've been busy and we've helped a lot of projects. And as a reminder, I really founded this company for one reason: to help expanding or relocating companies find the right communities. And by any way that we can bridge that gap and put them together like today's show, that really excites us because it shortens the process for the project itself. And we've really gotten good feedback from the projects. We've got Ashley Kleinsorge. She's our project manager. She works her tail off every day to find projects, interface with projects, keep the communications going back and forth, all that lead up to our Prospect Live events, and then post the live event, getting communications back and forth from the communities to the projects. We also have Ted. He is the CEO of Project Bon Appetit. I've had the pleasure of talking and working with Ted over the last couple of days and really learning about the project. We've got Athena, and Athena's been wonderful to work with. She's really been interfacing well with Ashley in terms of gathering information and putting together today's presentation. And we've got Scott, the CFO from Project Bon Appetit. So a little bit about GSLI. Global Site Location Industries is a consulting firm that helps communities and companies get together in the site location process. We strive to make the best network of communities around the country that can help these projects. So we trust our communities, and we know what the companies can expect when they interface with our communities. Um, our community members, the people that are a part of our association, they get to work an unlimited number of projects. So we really try to flip the site location process. So we try to go from them being eliminated from a site location list to actually finding out and understanding if they should be a part of that list and trying to get on their short list. Non-member communities, we love having them on here. They get to submit on one project per year. So if there's a great fit, we don't want to limit the project from being put in front of a good community. So we do allow at least an opportunity to learn our process and get in on some of the projects. Down below are some of the statistics. We've identified over 2,125 projects over the years. 53,000 plus jobs have been created with 6.3 billion in total capital investment, and 31.8 million square feet have been secured from our projects over the years. The way to get in touch with us always is through our project portal. That's where we house all the information of the projects. I'm totally excited because over the last 8 months, we've been developing version 2.0 on our portal. It will be released within the next 30 days. Keep your eyes out for the emails and alerts and the training sessions that we're going to be putting through on those, but it is a dynamic system. It's going to help both the communities and the companies interface much closer in terms of updates, information, and submissions. Quick reminder or quick update, we have 2 Prospect Live events coming up. One is Project Critical Minerals. It's on Thursday, February 25th at 11 a.m. And Project Technical Textiles, which is going to be on Thursday, March 11th at 11. Want to note that all Prospect Live webinar invites come from brooke.edwards@gslisolutions.com. So if for some reason you haven't seen updates or announcements of upcoming events, make sure you check your spam mail or junk mail, and make sure you whitelist or approve Brooke's email. That's the easiest way to keep in touch with our upcoming Prospect Live events. So at this point of the show, I'd like to turn it over to Ashley for a little quick dissertation of how a lot of communities, you guys are all sitting out there and you're doing all you can, working different means to find and identify projects. So a little bit of insight on how we identified project Bon Appetit is always useful. So Ashley, if you could talk a little bit about how you came in touch with Project Bon Appetit, how we find our projects, and a little bit about that process.
Yeah, I found them through one of our pillars that we use for lead generation. We have a team of people that kind of go behind the scenes and they qualify projects for us, and then we try and get in touch with them. I emailed and reached out to some team members on LinkedIn. Ted himself got back to me on email, which was super exciting. It's always nice to get straight to the decision maker. And then he put me in touch with Athena, who was super quick with wanting to schedule a phone call, which is always super nice because it kind of takes a little while to establish trust with these projects. They don't really know what we do, what we can do for them, how we can help them. But once you get them on the phone, it's kind of just it's an easy process. We like to get them in front of everybody, all the communities that join us, so that we can, quickly and efficiently get them their perfect location without them having to, go dig for all of these sites and locations that, maybe you have one they weren't thinking about, or so she was super helpful with all of that. And she put me in touch with Ted. We all got on the phone, and it was a quick process to get to this point. So it's been nothing but wonderful with them.
Awesome. Thank you. So quick overview of the project, and I want to remind everybody, we are going to stay on track today. We're going to be trying to finish up right on time, somewhere between 3:45 and 4 o'clock because Ted's got a plane to catch. And so we're going to work through this and try to give people as many opportunities to ask questions. But their acreage requirements, they've got 20 acres in their requirements. They need 100 to 200,000 square feet of space. Most preferably, that's going to be lease or lease to own space because of their time frame, as you'll learn. Really need to be located near a major highway or access to a major highway because of their distribution network and need to get to market. They want to be operational by Q1 of 2022, but that means we need to find a site now, and we need to start receiving submissions and reviewing those submissions so that we can put that all in order. There's equipment that needs to be ordered, probably rehabilitation or reconstruction of parts of the facilities to acquire and meet their needs. New jobs, really exciting, 225 by year 3. Always love the jobs being created, and the capital investment, $25 million in the next 3 to 5 years. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to who's going to do this part of the presentation. Is it going to be you, Athena?
Yeah, maybe it would be best for Ted to like kick it off and
all right,
a brief intro.
You can both unmute your mics. I'll mute up, and I'll let you guys take over the presentation.
Okay, well, thank you, Eric. One moment. Is this better? Good. Okay. A couple of pieces of technology here today. First, I'd like to really say thank you very much to Eric and Ashley, a great team, seamless, very supportive, and just did a fantastic job of taking Athena's work and our interest and presenting it to a meaningful group of municipalities that are interested and willing to partner with us in success. So hats off to that fantastic effort, and just a shout out to whichever municipality gets to work with this organization. You'll enjoy it. Quickly, thanks to Athena also and Scott for being here. Athena was really the backbone of this effort to get this information aggregated and into everyone's hands, including mine. And you'll notice, as Eric pointed out, that we are in a very short, fast track to get these improvements in place and get our products to market. I'm going to start quickly. We are in a growing industry. We're 99 billion this year, APPA's estimate. So 100 billion in 2022. This is fantastic growth. I've been in the industry since 2010, working with these capital partners that have partnered with us again here in this project. We have a fantastic track record in the industry, as do they in the capital industries. We have a very strong team. Looking forward to being able to share it with everyone, but we have gone around and really handpicked who we want to work with. We're in the fortunate position to do so, but you can see from our management that we have very experienced people with success behind them and relationships in place to take our products to market successfully. And this is a technology play in the pet space. We are a future-leaning technology group around air-dried technology. So that's freeze-dried, that's smoked, that's literally air-dried. There's a variety of nuances between those. We do have traditional products. We do sit in traditional categories, but it is the focus on technology that is differentiating us. And our brand is number one in neighborhood pet, the indie space. It has the highest net promoter score. For those that are familiar with that, that means that we have the highest percentage of customers that talk about our brand without being asked to talk about our brand. And net promoter scores are a beautiful thing in consumer packaged goods. And we're very, very proud to have the brand that has the highest in its category. We're well capitalized. We have virtually no debt. We have the ability to expand. We have the people, the partners, the products, the brands for success. Now what we need is expanded operations. We're currently headquartered in Texas, but we operate also in California and Washington, Colorado, Montana. We're looking at other opportunities in other states. But we need to start consolidating our abilities into very streamlined facilities. In Abilene, Texas, we will continue to focus our freeze-dried technologies and some other specialty technologies at our facility in California. But we need to consolidate the balance of our air-dried technologies and our smoking technologies and the natural parts business processing treats and diets. And that is why we are looking for a municipality today. And in that consolidated area, that community, that space, we will put our corporate presence as well. So with this consolidation and this investment in an additional facility comes our creative class, comes our C-suite. I'll be towing a U-Haul trailer, bringing my things to town, as well others in the C-suite. We'll be hiring new. We will be relocating, and we will be working as partners in the community, because I want to just speak to a moment about the fact that this industry and what we make and who we make these products for is not going away. Pets are part of families. I think most everyone that's on this call today understands that, probably personally experiences it. And so when we talk about our products, we're talking about a member of the families of the people that are on this call today. And so we take great pride in our quality. We take great pride in the nutrition. If you were to talk to the people that develop our products, they wouldn't tell you that we are a dog food or a dog treat company. They tell you that we are a nutrition company. And the forward-leaning technologies are important because they don't degrade the nutrition. They're shelf-stable. They have incredible taste and flavor, but they also are appropriate for where distribution is going in the era of e-com, where people are going in the sense of transparency back to origin, and not just of country, but origin of the animals and the nutrients that go in those animals and eventually come into these diets. You can see here in this image that the types of equipment we're talking about are large, they're sophisticated, they have long lead times to procure, and they take skilled, knowledgeable technicians to construct them, to commission them, and to manage them. So many of our employees have to be highly skilled, technical, electromechanical, technically prowess in those areas in order just to keep the lights on. And that's where we're starting today, because as we grow, we're going to be also innovating. And I think, to our credit, some of the innovation is not just in the products we make, but in the equipment that we use to make the products we make. As Eric mentioned, we're seeking entitled land at least. We would be very interested in a facility that was already design build for a food processing activity. That would be ideal. We would start with at least 100,000 square feet, but our plan is for over 200,000 square feet. But if there's a site that allows for 200 or more thousand square feet with a building on it right now that was in food processing, that's ideal. Clearly, we are going to invest quite a bit in capital equipment, but we're also going to be investing in human resource. And it's important that we have the people that are interested, in the communities that are interested in these sorts of technical jobs. And they run from, your semi to skilled labor, but also, I'm sorry, it's proof that I'm in an airport right now. But we really want communities that understand the value of training. We want to have professional advancement inside our companies. We don't always want to go outside and find someone new and hope they fit and train them to fit. We want to have our own people get better at what they do, get more knowledgeable, get more engaged, have better pay, have better professional advancement opportunities. And when we are operating at the scale we can provide that. So we want communities that are supporting of training, and that's technical colleges, community colleges, 4U universities. We're going to be drawing from R&D. We're going to be drawing from management, middle to senior. We're going to be drawing, again, as I mentioned, for these technical jobs that so aptly come out of the technical colleges. We do need to be close to our raw materials, which are primarily proteins. As far as our finished goods, we are nationwide, as I mentioned earlier. In fact, we're global, so our products go in all directions to all states in the US and Canada. And so we are more focused on where our raw materials are and where we need to be in relation to our raw materials. Certainly infrastructure is great. We do not need rail, but highway access, we need ample power, we need ample natural gas. And importantly, even though we are in shelf stable and we do talk about our dry technology, we also have a frozen technology. And that frozen technology is going ever more direct to consumer. And so access to cold storage for perishable and semi-perishable fulfillment would be ideal, because that part of our business is growing rapidly as well. So that's it in a nutshell. I guess at this point, Ashley, Eric, we can open it for questions, and we'll do our best to cover them.
Yeah. So what we do, we've had some people filter in some questions. We have about 10 questions. And as we go through those, remember, ask any open questions you have on that. But right to start, you were talking about your space. And one of the things you mentioned yesterday was you talked about whether or not it had to be FDA approved space. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Certainly. We need FDA certification. We operate right now to SQF and SQF2 facilities. But when we speak about the potential to find facilities that were food grade to begin with, typically they would be FDA or USDA. So we're making an assumption that would happen. But that does limit large existing warehouses that may not have the drains, that may not have the foundations that are insulated appropriately for freezers and chillers. So retrofitting a facility that isn't purpose-built for food production and processing is oftentimes expensive. Doesn't mean that they're off the table. It just means that if there is a food processing facility, it's likely a very good fit for us, because we are one notch down from USDA, but certainly need FDA and SQF and FSMA, of course, certifications that are pretty commonplace and pretty well understood by those in the industry.
Awesome. And we also talked a little bit yesterday. We're actually working with another project that is doing cold storage development around the U.S. with communities. And you had mentioned it's a potential good match that you would lease space from a facility that has that, or co-share space. Expand on that a little bit.
Yes, that's true. We do need chilled and frozen facilities, freezers for our raw materials, and also for our finished goods. We don't need to own those, but if they're in close proximity, we're glad to take a piece of a larger facility or a piece of a multi-use facility. So cold storage in or near the site is great infrastructure for us.
Perfect. So diving into these questions a little bit, one of the key questions I always like to ask, because there's so many different factors that weigh into on your minds and what you're going to choose in terms of a space. What do you feel your key motivations? What's your biggest motivation for this expansion?
It's a good question. Certainly the key motivation for the timing of this expansion is to stay ahead of the curve with our technologies. In our Texas facility right now, we are not quite doubling the size from 100 to 160,000 square feet, but we're doing multi-X investment in equipment. And that's because we're in a rapidly growing industry, and we have, if not standing orders, we have very high confidence that we have multi-X sales that are waiting for our products to arrive at their doors. And so our motivation is to do something, to work with a community that can work quickly. Our motivation is to establish ourselves as the source of trust and knowledge in the industry. And right now, our brand and Neighborhood Pet does exactly that, as does our brand and our products and progressive treats and supplements and tinctures, as does our air dried and our smoked products. They are best in class. They are trusted products in the industry. But we need to continue to move raise the bar higher in order to continue to be that source of trust and knowledge, because we attract the consumers that are early adopters, that care the most, that really prioritize nutrition and safety above all else. And of course, that naturally goes to valuing the company and the people that work at the company very highly. And so we do run on purpose-driven principles. And in order to be best in class and have world-class facilities, you have to be able to show them, and you have to be able to go to be able to open the door to the consumer and say, come on inside, take a look at how we do it, take a look at who we are. And so it's very important to us to have these high quality facilities and to be part of a community, and not just be a factory, but to be a community of manufacturing products for members of our family that we think are very, very important.
Yeah, and question two, you've pretty much answered in terms of the desire and the timing, why it's so important to find timing on an existing building. But this isn't a wish, this isn't something you're building for. This is reaction almost, in terms of, you mentioned you could supply 2x of what you're doing right now if you just had the size of your facility and operations, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. It's even a little bit higher, and that's just in our branded business. We also know that as we grow our branded business, there will be co-pack businesses, because others come to us because we have that forward-leaning technology that they'd also like to add to their product lines. And so as we invest in this technology, we not only support our brand, but we also support others in the industry that would like to have these sorts of nutritional products in their mix, their product lines as well. So we have a tremendous amount of demand that has not been met, and frankly, Scott, who's on the call today, would tell you the exact same thing. If we could, what stymies us right now is production capacity, nothing else.
So in terms of the customers that you serve, kind of paint a picture of them, and I know there's some areas that you're looking for, and if I understood you right, it's going to be more of a your campus headquarters type showcase facility.
That's correct. At this facility, we're going to need to have R&D. We'll need to have our marketing and sales, our creative class. We need to have space for people to come and visit and see the facilities that I'm speaking to. I mean, we need to physically get our customers, our vendors, our partners to our facility, and this is where we would have our meeting rooms to do so. This is where we would have a training facility, and I don't mean just training for pets. I mean, training for our people too. This is the type of place where we want to have our name, large letters on the side of a beautiful building. So there's an element here of being the cultural center of our company, not just the corporate center, but the cultural center of our company. And again, that's important as it relates to the community as well.
And expanding on that, with training being so important, would you find training dollars or workforce training dollars important for the project that you could implement and use within the facility?
Absolutely. And also in past companies, we've been very successful at partnering with those colleges, typically the technical colleges and the community colleges, but also the four-year universities, where we have made commitments to those institutions with endowment dollars, so that scholarships can be made in the areas of forward-leaning technologies. And we found that the students that came through those programs and took advantage of those scholarships, they were hired the day that they got their certificate. So it's a virtuous cycle. So we don't just want to take, we want to give too, but that infrastructure needs to be there that can be leveraged.
Perfect. So I'm going to rephrase this question a little bit on the must-haves. If you were to put your finger on 3 must-haves that, the ticks that have to be met for you to consider a location, what would you say those 3 would be, if there's 3?
Well, thank you. Those are good questions. We need to have the infrastructure for access. We need to be on main lines. We have a lot of product to get around to the U.S., and we have raw materials that need to get into our facility. So we need to be in a place that has strong logistical services. We need to have a workforce that is supported by the community, and we need to have a community that wants to work with us quickly. We'll bring the rest to the table. We'll bring the technology. We'll bring the brands and the growth, but we need to have the infrastructure. We need to have the access, and we need to have the community.
Perfect.
Ted?
So you've done a really good job of answering the other questions. Ashley, do you have something?
Yeah, I just wanted to, a couple people have asked questions about the types of raw materials you use and where you source them from. If you could give them kind of a general idea of that.
Certainly, the majority of our raw materials are proteins, beef and chicken, duck, lamb, basically all of those sorts of proteins. We also have natural parts, so we take other parts of the animal as well. There are the typical inclusions, and in some cases the very high-end diets that we create. Those are carbs, cereals, even vegetables and fruits. But fundamentally, we are a protein-based company.
Yeah, and you mentioned that the other day about the importance or the advantage if the facility can be located to a processing facility, correct?
I'm sorry, Eric. Delta
no.
is compelled right now to let us know everything about Delta, but perhaps Scott or Athena could answer that question.
Eric, could you repeat the question?
Yeah, yesterday when we were talking about kind of some pluses, something that would push a community over a community above another, access to a high yield or a processing facility of those proteins would be a big plus if there was some proximity to that. Wouldn't is that correct?
Yeah, for sure. Maybe I can jump on it now, and then Scott, if you have anything to add, you can maybe add more. We are very much committed to the holistic health of our little friends that we ultimately serve through our products. And as Ted was talking about the natural parts of our businesses, we would like to show our customers that the sources of our proteins are traceable and they are near where our products are produced, and have a end-to-end traceable production process that customers can trust us with. So I wouldn't say it's a must-have. I'd say it's a nice-to-have compared to some of the other things that Ted mentioned. So that would be, a high-quality labor market or proximity to four-year or technical colleges, close proximity to highways, and the land itself, the sizing of the building. I think those are more on the must-have side, and proximity to fresh proteins would be very nice to have. Scott?
Athena, I think you did a great job of summarizing it. The only thing I would add is, obviously, we're for profit. So the closer we can be to our sources, the lower cost, the better value we can pass along to our customers. So while Athena is absolutely right, it's maybe not a must-have, but it's always a nice-to-have.
Spoken like a true CFO.
That's right. I know my role.
So this next question might be good for you. In terms of the jobs, not just the jobs, what type of average salaries do you feel these wages would be paid out to the employees that you're looking for?
I am going to toss that over to Athena because I know she did some work in looking at the different jobs and what we're looking at. But all I can say is, as Ted talked about earlier, that we are a kind of almost a bleeding edge technology company within our space. That means we can't just have folks walking off the street that don't have a certain amount of expertise and aren't more on the skilled labor side than unskilled. And it's something we're excited about bringing folks on that are skilled labor, and we're excited about partnering with people in different areas of the country that can help us bring folks, maybe with that high school education, maybe the associates, through a training program, and bring them up the wage scale.
Awesome. You guys have done a tremendous job in terms of answering the questions in your presentation. So I think we can skip straight over to, we've got right now about 17 questions. I know Scott, Ted, you're on a, we've got about 6 more minutes with you before you got to get up and go. And you can be with this audio, but I want to make sure that we try to get to these. First question's from Cindy Wallace. Cindy's a excellent community that we work with real close down in Liberal, Kansas. But she wanted to just reiterate that they, and I think this plays right into the question, they're right next to a national beef, and they slaughter 4,000 to 5,000 head a day. Obviously, that'd be an advantage because of that proximity and some of the ingredients of the product. Correct?
That's correct. And in fact, if I'm sure Cindy's following this trend, but actually the offal from the animals are becoming more and more understood to be higher protein sources, and protein sources that have sort of more uses. We can put them to a variety of different uses than just the body meat. And so yes, that is attractive.
Next question's from Paul Bean from Franklin County, Kansas. He's kind of asking, where do your ingredients, I know you talked about the beef, are there any other ingredients that play an important part, and where do they come from?
We are virtually all proteins, but the carbs come from a variety of typically domestic sources. We do have some ancient grains, we do have some unique formulations, but the percentage of those ingredients against our total formulations is small enough that it doesn't drive a locational decision. But certainly, as Scott said, freight is difficult to manage on commodity valued products. And so we want to be as close to the heartland of grains and proteins as possible. We do, look, we pull some proteins out of New Zealand right now. So we do go far, and we are willing to pay the premium to get exactly what we need. But the vast majority is North America. The vast majority of that is USA, and that goes for virtually all of our ingredient deck.
Great. I got a question here from Mickey Dean. He's from Junction City, Kansas. Love to work with Junction City. I'm going to kind of rephrase the question, that they're part of the animal health quarter on I-70. So in terms of access to raw material or access, product coming in or product going out, and also the access to research abilities and other resources in the animal health realm nearby, which one of those play more important? Is it the inbound? Is it the outbound? Is it the research in terms of proximity, or is it kind of a combination of all those?
Definitely the inbound, and primarily because we're, if you think we are a air dried, freeze dried, we're a dried product technology facing company. So outside of our frozen diets, our products leave very light. We take moisture out, and in doing so, we preserve a variety of things, including nutrition. And so our outbound freight, we're cubing. Our inbound, we're weighing out the trucks. And so inbound is disproportionately valuable because of weight, because of perishability, but also because the value add that we put into these products goes up dramatically. And so we're shipping a light, highly valuable product versus we're bringing in a product that's further down on the value chain that's heavy and has a lot of moisture.
Yeah, Ted, now that we have you back, do you know kind of a job wage range in terms of, I know that's asked, a lot of communities, they put that into their incentive packages and things like
Certainly.
that.
Yes. Yes, we have studied it. And so we have the semi-skilled are all in the $20, here we go again, sorry. $20 a pound, a $20 an hour range. But we start our maintenance techs, our maintenance trainees in 35 to 45 an hour, and then it goes up as sophistication and capabilities go up.
Yeah, and for those that you wonder, we'll be putting together a project report on this that'll detail how many jobs, kind of wage levels, and things that you can refer to as we post this project and start working with it on the submissions. Yvette Sanchez from Laredo. Hi, Yvette. Where do you source your raw materials? What type of raw materials do you require for production? This is kind of going back to the beef and the proteins. Anything to expand on that?
What I can say is the majority are it's beef and poultry. So beef and chicken are two large, by far our two largest inputs. But then all of the proteins that kind of come out, but the consumer is looking for different. They're looking for exotic. They're looking for clean, and sometimes you have to reach a little bit further for those. But we are beef and chicken, just to simplify.
Okay. What about in terms of your building? Are there any particular ceiling heights? This is coming from Brandon Knoll.
No, Brandon, the typical ceiling heights, there are areas where we have some specialty equipment, but no, typical.
Okay. We've got an anonymous question here. May have came in a little late. It says, is cold storage space to lease still needed? If you build the building new, which I know is the last of the totem pole in order, is cold storage space to lease still needed? Or would you build that into the facility, or would you prefer to look outside?
We would likely look hard at leasing, even if we're building new. Because chiller space, our facility needs to be conditioned, but we're talking about conditions in the 60 degree, in the 45, in the 35. But by the time we're down to 25 to 0, we're using small spaces. And if there's cold storage, freezer space, we would prefer to lease than go.
Perfect. This one may have passed me during the presentation. I've got a question here from Pat Watkins. He's also from Liberty County, Georgia. What are grease tracks?
I'm sorry, that's part of the drainage system, and it's grease traps, and they trap the grease. And this is typically a requirement of the municipality if you're on industrial waste. And so literally they are trapping some of the byproduct of the processing so that it doesn't get into the municipal sewer lines. And that is, again, a pretty standard spec on any building that is food grade right now. It'd be pretty rare not to have those grease traps in place.
Okay. So it's tracks, not tracks with a P. Cindy, again, from Liberal, Kansas, asking about how many trucks will be coming in and out of the facility. Do you estimate?
I'd have to do some math on that. I apologize.
Okay. No worries.
Can we get back to you on that? Because I'd like to give, that's an important question. I'd like to give a good answer, and obviously it'll be ramping up. So where we begin isn't where we end. So if we can get back to her with that, Eric, I appreciate that.
Absolutely. This is from Trey Miller in Logan County, in Sterling, Colorado. Are you open to rural areas and smaller communities that still meet your size requirements? And a secondary follow-up is, have you identified your water consumption requirements?
We're certainly open to rural communities, and we have not defined our water consumption.
All right. We got Mary Lilly from Greenfield. Is there an odor associated with your process? If so, is it something that a community really needs to consider in terms of its location?
That's a question we get often, and there's a great concern from municipalities, and the answer is essentially no. There are odors, but not we're not a rendering plant. We're not a kibble plant. We don't use heat, and it's heat where a lot of those odors are generated in the protein processing. So we cool, and then we freeze dry. Now, when we air dry, we do heat, but we're not cooking. It's really a dehydration. It's heat, humidity, and air movement, air handling. And so when we have smoking facilities, we have scrubbers, and the new technologies are quite good at controlling smoke. And I mean, truth be known, when you smoke a protein out of an 8 or 9 hour turn through a smoker, you have maybe 45 minutes of smoke. And the only reason that I really want to point that out is because we are one of the few companies that actually use real smoke. So yes, we have smoke, but no, the technology that we use, and both in terms of air scrubbers, HVAC, and the basic technology itself does not create odor.
Okay, great. I'm going to let you answer this question. Then I'm going to let you get to your gate, because I know we're coming up on your time that you need to leave. What are the power requirements? Do you have that, or is that something we need to get back on the report in terms of megawatts the facility would require? Is there any special requirements?
I don't believe they're special, but we will get those numbers to you. No, they're not far out of the norm.
So Jennifer Daniels also will get the water, sewer, power requirements all put down on the spec sheet for the submissions. We always include as many details as we can so that you can answer those questions.
Eric, thank you so much for being sensitive to my timing.
Yep.
I am going to stay on audio, but I'm going to go off video.
Ted, thank you so much, and have a safe flight.
Thank you.
This might Scott and Athena, if you can answer these, then that would be great. We've got about 8 more questions. Some of them are pretty generic, and some are pretty ideal. So we've got Mike Mathis from Centerville, Iowa. And he's asking, is the location in an opportunity zone? Have you explored any opportunity zones yet in terms of locating your facilities?
The only thing I would say, Eric, is we have in the past had the opportunity to work with quasi-government entities on some of our locations. We are open to that, and have kind of built the infrastructure to support those folks for whatever they need. So it's something we're obviously open to.
Okay, perfect. Lee Reeves from Lawrence County, Mississippi, is asking, as far as workforce goes, can you expand any on the type of technical degree? So if they were to do a search with their local colleges in terms of the school degrees that they offer, are there any type of technical degrees that you're really seeking?
By the way, Athena, if you feel like you've got an answer to these, please jump in. I don't think there is. I think to a large extent, we're looking at folks that are going to be trained on how to operate, as we said earlier, high-tech pieces of machinery. But as far as specific associate degrees, specific training degrees, we have not identified that.
Yeah, I would just add that I cannot stress enough that we're a very high growing company, and our needs really range from, the production side of things to the R&D side and the marketing side. So if you are by a 4-year university where there is a great pool of talent, we would really love that. And in terms of just specific degrees we're looking for, I think we are prepared to train a lot of our production folks when they come in, because we do have very much top of the line, state of the art equipment that will require some specific training at our plant for sure.
So in terms of locations regionally, are there any specific regions that you're leaning towards on this particular facility in the U.S.? Would it be what type of region? And I guess to follow up on that, have you guys discussed any future expansions to build on to this expansion with this type of growth?
I think right now, Eric, we are predominantly a central and western part of the United States. That doesn't preclude us from looking at municipalities in the eastern half of the U.S. Our customers and their companions are all over the country. So, but right now we are focused on the central and western part of the U.S. But again, I think we'd be open to anyone, anywhere who would be a great partner going forward.
Okay, great. We touched a little bit about this yesterday, and you've talked a lot about highway access and trucking your materials. How important is rail? Is rail a deal breaker, a deal maker, or just a nice have?
Scott, you're muted.
Scott, you're on mute.
Went from mute to unmute. So I don't think rail is a big factor for us. It would be at best a nice to have.
Okay, we've got John Redmond from Durant, Oklahoma. Very familiar Durant. We helped a location locate there about 10 years ago. It's a great project. Would you be interested in working with Native American tribes in terms of locations and whatnot?
I think it goes back to one of the earlier questions. We would absolutely be open to working with whether it's Native American tribes, whether it's quasi-government entities, whoever can come out, can work with us and really form a partnership would be something we would absolutely be interested in talking to.
Perfect. We got two more questions. We've got Susan Arellano. And in terms of the raw materials, are there any specific areas that you're sourcing those from now? I know we talked about even bringing them in from New Zealand, but are there any heavy areas that you're concentrated on bringing in your raw materials?
There really isn't. And I think Ted talked about this earlier. We're bringing in raw materials from many different sources from different parts of the country, depending on the protein itself. So there really isn't an advantage or a disadvantage to being in different parts of the country as it relates to raw material sourcing.
Okay, perfect. That's all our questions. If anybody else has a question, love you to get it in there real quick. We're coming up on the end of our hour. But I do want to make sure that we get any questions answered if people have them so that we get, I don't have any other questions. So what I want to do is I want to talk to you a little bit about, well, we have one more question, two more questions come in. Matt Wavering, is the 25 million CapEx inclusive of the building or just your equipment?
Go ahead, Athena.
Yeah, so 25 million would be inclusive of the building.
Okay. And then are there any, you talked to, I mean, Ted talked a lot about the culture and everything. Are there any quality of life elements for workforce that are more desirable in certain parts of the country or that you're looking for?
I think there are absolutely attributes of almost every part of the country that we could incorporate into our culture. I mean, our culture is about being inclusive. So by definition, if it's something where we can work with different municipalities, different organizations to kind of accentuate the qualities of that part of the country, I think we look forward to that. That's so it would be something that would be a lot of fun to explore.
A lot of dog owners and dog parks, maybe.
That absolutely. There are dog owners everywhere.
Awesome. So let's talk about the submission guidelines. We always get these submissions, and sometimes they're overkill and really not doing the project any good. So I'd like to define exactly what you guys are looking for in terms of your submissions from the communities. And so is there anything specific you'd really like to see in the site proposals? Are they just mainly specific buildings that are a good match? Do you want figures, stats, employment rates, all of the above? How confined do you want the initial submissions to be?
Athena, I think you've been closer to this than I have, so go ahead and weigh in.
Yeah, so I think the building and the land is probably a centerpiece of this, but also any job related incentives, training related incentives. We'll be investing heavily into PP&E, so any kind of R&D or CapEx related incentives, that would be really great. And as we were talking about earlier, any labor force related information, even if it's not a incentive per se, it would be nice to learn more about just your community and what folks are doing in terms of just kind of the relevant labor pool we can tap on and provide more training for.
Awesome. And Scott, I think you answered this in terms of, as we further define and start narrowing down areas in the country for you to look at, if down the road, 2 weeks from now, 3 weeks from now, community pops in and they have an asset that comes onto market and meets perfectly your requirements, but outside of those defined areas, would you still like them to submit on the project?
I think the answer is yes. I mean, we especially early on, we're wide open. We're trying to understand what's out there, who are the potential partners. So yeah, please don't be shy.
Perfect. If we can go to the next slide, that kind of concludes what we're today's Prospect Live event. I want to thank you guys for spending time with us, and not just today, but over the past couple weeks of educating us about your project, giving us the information that's needed to make you guys successful, and really set aside time. Ted's commitment to this has been phenomenal. As you can see, he's, in between flights and doing this from an airport. So we love the technology and we love the commitment from you guys. And we want to thank the communities for their commitment of time and coming in here today and learning about your project. And our hope is to get you some really good submissions on potential sites, which takes us to our submissions. Want to go ahead and throw up our final poll. If you are interested, that'll capture your email immediately for us so that we know to look for your submission. So if you're interested in submitting to Project Bon Appetit, go ahead and hit yes, no, or I already have. And we understand if you say no, that doesn't mean you're not good for some of our other projects. We just know it's not a perfect fit for this project. And that doesn't waste the project's time or yours. Submissions, we do have a tight deadline. They're due by February 25th at 5 p.m. Early submissions are very welcome, so we can filter through those and get those organized for the project. We will vet member and non-member submissions. We always present the members, they know exactly what to submit, and we organize those and get those to the project as quick as possible and as soon as possible. And from there, Project Bon Appetit, we'll work with them to reach out to the communities. They've said if anyone contacts them, they'll redirect them to us to organize these submissions, and we appreciate that so that it is an organized process for them. And this is round 1 of submissions. So if we start accepting round 2 and round 3, as we further define the needs, we will open those back up on the portal. Very important. You're going to be getting a recording link of this after the Prospect Live event. That's coming again from brooke.edwards@gslisolutions.com. So look for that email. It'll give you instructions. It'll give you contact information. It'll instruct you how to go to the portal and make the submission. If you don't see it within the next 2 days, make sure you go to your junk mail or give us a call. With that said, we'll go to the contacts. Ashley, we put the contacts up here if you want to screenshot it or refer to it. We do provide a transcript on the website after this that takes our transcriber about 48 hours so that you can download it, print it, and refer and answer the questions and make the or provide the information that they're looking for that's about your community. But Ashley, again, she's the project manager. She works getting your information to the project and coordinating all communications. There's her email, Amanda Tompkins. She's one of our account executives that handles and coaches some of the communities on their project submissions. And Carol Harris is another one of our account executives, and she coordinates the team. So as these submissions come in, we'll assign it to one of our coaches. They'll review it. They'll work with you really closely on getting the submission in correctly and organizing that before all submissions are made. Again, final thank you to everybody that attended today. Really appreciate your time, and really appreciate the Athena, Scott, and Ted. If you're still there, you're probably on the plane by now, but thank you so much for your time, and we look forward to working with you over the next several months and helping you find the right location. And for the communities, don't forget, mark your calendars for Project Critical Minerals, Thursday, February 25th at 11, and Project Technical Textiles, Thursday, March 11th at 11 a.m. You can always find us at www.gsliprojectportal.com. And with that said, I want to thank everybody and say goodbye till our next Prospect Live event. Take care.
Thanks, y'all.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you. Thank you, Ashley.
Bye.